Hey everybody, my name is Josh, joshallmusic.com. This is Shavasana Kitty YouTube channel, and if you're just joining me, hey, welcome. If you've come back, thanks, and if you've subscribed, even better. So, last video we did, I talked about using the diatonic chord cycle of 4. In the key of C, I started on F. I went to B half diminished. I went to E minor, A minor, D minor, G to C. And I showed a couple different ways to walk through those chords, and then using the modes following the bass line. And you can watch that video, and it's a great way to practice your modes and such in using a cycle of 4. Now, another cool thing, and this is kind of an application of this. This is Frank Gambale's technique book. This is book 1. There's an exercise on page 9, exercise 13. This one right there. And this is a cool little exercise that uses all of the diatonic chords in the key of C, diatonic 7 chords, and then it cycles them in groups of fourths based on specific spots on the guitar neck. So starting in the first spot, he begins this as a C major 7 chord, and then G7, D minor 7, A minor 7, and that's all right around here at the 5th fret. And if you go up, A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. And what's interesting about that is you get 6, 2, 5, 1, which is a very common sort of jazz progression. You get 6, 2, 5, 1. And improvising over that, using just those 7s and just that little spot, gives you all of the diatonic notes in the key of C and all the chords that I just played in order. A minor 7, D minor 7, G7, C major 7. And that's pretty awesome. The cool thing about the guitar is that this kind of happens all over. So if I slide up, I get B half diminished 7, E minor 7, A minor 7, D minor 7. And that's another set of chords moving in fourths diatonically through the key of C. All right. I move up to the next available spot, and it gives me C major 7, F major 7. This was B half diminished 7, and then E minor 7. And that's awesome as well. You can move up, D minor 7, G7, C major 7, F major 7, go backwards. I'm a big fan of what goes up can come down, and so even though he presents the exercise as like a fluid thing where you just move from section to section like this, the applications of that, though it's cool and it sounds awesome and you can just kind of blast through things doing that, I find it useful to just take all of those kinds of ideas and say, okay, well, what is this if I just lived here? What is this if I just live there? And how can this move? How can this help me? And you keep going up the neck and you keep doing the same things. And what's awesome is that all of your chords move by fourths that way, just like the little cycle does. So if I were, let's say, to start here at the 13th fret, I've got an F, and I play F major 7. My next move by fourths would be the B half diminished, and then it would be E minor 7, and then it would be A minor 7. If I then move to here, I can have my D minor 7, G7, and then C major 7. And that was starting with D at the magic of, what fret is that? The 17th fret of the A string. And that's pretty sweet. You could start the D somewhere else, like if I started F here and I walked up and I want to bring my D there, then I can also have my G7 and my C major right there. And so that is, I think, super cool. And if we were to take our little progression and we wanted to just practice doing that, moving around and stay within the chords, which is kind of, I'm going to say a little boring sounding, that it's actually cooler to use other chord, the same key but other chords against what's happening, because you get the tensions and all that kind of thing. But just to give you an idea, this is starting on F, 2, 4. And that gives you an idea of like just kind of walking through. It's not as interesting as maybe playing things within the, maybe you start with a scale and you So being able to mix up, and go between the modes you're playing and the arpeggios you want to use, it gives you access to lines that just playing a particular scale or just playing a particular collection of arpeggios won't necessarily give you. And so my thinking around all of these kinds of techniques, it isn't really about how fast I can play a particular idea. It isn't really about, it really comes down to how do I want to phrase? And how can I provide a certain amount of space? How can I develop some kind of melodic content that is intriguing enough for me so that I'm not bored listening, and sounds good to my audience so that they're not yawning. All right, there's some interest in there. Sometimes you're successful and sometimes you're not. The important thing about playing and about making music is that it just comes from inside you. And the more tools you have to be able to unlock that, the better. And sometimes I think that guitar players think they need to use like the whole guitar to make some kind of statement. And I tend to think more along the lines of, well, someone like Charlie Parker had a limited range on their saxophone, and they could really only play whatever that limited range was. And that seemed to be enough to create some pretty amazing things. And so I don't necessarily need to fly all the way up and down if I don't want to. I can say what I need to say within a specific confine, and it'll be just fine. It can be really interesting, in fact. And so using these tools of that the guitar moves in fourths quite a bit of the time, if you're just moving vertically, it's pretty cool. And you might be in a scale, F Lydian, for example, right here, and then the next thing you know, there's a whole series of arpeggios that I can build right out of that. And that's, I think, super cool. So I hope you find this kind of thinking to be useful. Like, comment, subscribe. If you don't, that's cool too. Find something else to practice. But major cycles of four happen in all kinds of songs, and or just cycles of four in general happen in all kinds of songs, and it's a musical way to practice as opposed to just like playing scales or playing chords and not having some kind of direction to follow. So anyway, we'll see you next time. Have a good one.